I gave your brother everything, Tessa. I'm out. I momentarily believed I had misunderstood him. The language seemed strange, like if it had come from another person's nightmare and not mine. The acute pain of betrayal made me clutch my phone even more tightly. My dad spoke in a soothing tone, relatively quiet, as if he weren't simultaneously destroying all of my hard work. Like the previous 2 decades didn't matter. Feeling a knot form in my throat, I swallowed it down. As my thoughts raced through the consequences, the vista outside my office window became hazy. I no longer had any claim to the empire we had created together, an empire for which I had given my life. For a long time, I fooled myself into thinking that I was indispensable to Mitchell Enterprises, that my father considered me an equal to him and the heir apparent to our family name. Unfortunately, I was incorrect. With an unsettling tone in my voice, I expressed my gratitude for the notification. On the other side, I could make out my dad's hesitance. He was anticipating a distinct outcome. Horrifying noise. An impassioned call. Conflict may even break out. No, I did not give him anything. To you, Tessa, it may appear unjust, but I ended the call. Suffocating quiet pervaded my workspace. Nothing I had ever experienced had prepared me for the crushing impact of what had just transpired. Something changed thereafter. To calm the raging fire within, I took deep, measured breaths. This, he believes, is over. Yeah, he's inaccurate. For my father and me, Mitchell Enterprises was more than a mere enterprise. It constituted our whole existence. I had been at his side from the start, helping us both work our way up from the bottom. I was formally hired by the firm when I was 19 years old. The idea was my dad's, but I was the one who made it replicable. On several occasions, I rescued us from the verge of financial ruin by developing our investing ideas, growing our portfolio, and coordinating our efforts. Something had changed, though, in the last year. I began to be left out of important meetings by my father. My desk stopped getting financial reports. Behind closed doors, decisions were being made. Through my brother Liam. Hello, Liam. Beloved offspring. The one my dad had hoped for all along. Liam blew through his trust fund money like it was nothing while I was slaving away in investor meetings and nightclubs throughout my 20s. The firm was never important to him. He was never deserving of being there. However, my dad had picked him out of the two of us. I ought to have anticipated it. These reports are missing. My father and his attorney's private discussions. How, after years of disinterest, Liam had developed an interest in the business. I should have been more cautious. Misunderstood the earth moving under me. Too preoccupied with operating the business. They believed they had seized everything at this point. In front of me was a mahogany desk, and I gazed at it. The steady patter of fingers over the velvety surface. My thoughts had already begun to factor, going back and forth through various legal frameworks, contracts, and backup plans throughout the years. Something my dad failed to see. What Liam failed to perceive. I had never gone into this game without a strategy. I retrieved the black notepad stashed in the drawer of my desk. Within were the authentic documents. Those that I had preserved apart from the official records. I make every big choice. There is no concealed culpability. All of my father's behind-the-scenes deals. This is where it was. He had grossly misjudged my abilities if he believed he could remove me and escape unharmed. Through sheer determination, hard work, and selflessness, I had developed this enterprise. Every vulnerability was familiar to me. Each and every one of those hard spots. Furthermore, I would not allow them to prevail. Reclining in my seat, I gazed upwards at the urban skyline. Here was where my dad messed up again. On the off chance that I might collapse. Just so you know, I wasn't really sad about it. And I was getting ready to fight. I stood up and adjusted the sleeves of my blazer after taking a last look at my phone. It wasn't finished yet. It was only the start. That day, I got out of the workplace early. I wasn't overwhelmed for no reason. I didn't require time to process because I had to go and think about it, so I departed. To tell you the truth, I was expecting this. My knuckles grew white from clutching the wheel so firmly as I drove silently. The Austin streets whizzed by without warning. The city where I had spent so much time becoming known. A city that seemed to have changed. Lower temperature. I was kicked out by my father. This time Liam came out on top. That is, their assumption was incorrect. After pulling into my driveway, I turned off the engine and sat down for a while, allowing the peace to wash over me. There was a void in the home, for the simple reason that it included no contents whatsoever. Building a life outside from the corporation had never been a priority for me. I worked 16-hour days to prevent Mitchell Enterprises from collapsing due to my father's antiquated techniques, while my friends were getting hitched, starting families, and going on vacation. What comes next? There was zero return on my investment. At least that was their intention when they told me that. After dropping my keys on the counter, I strode inside and headed for the study. Books about business, strategy, and negotiations adorned the walls. The things I had devoted my entire life to. But they felt worthless this evening. I resorted to grabbing the one reliable thing instead. My notepad. The pages were loaded with years' worth of notes, and I scanned them as I opened it. Transactions that my dad had negotiated. Secret profiles. Things he misjudged my ability to detect. My father's frailties were known to me. If he had taught me anything, it would be that the strongest empire wasn't always the most powerful. Whoever knew how to set everything on fire owned it. My mind wandered to my youth. How faithfulness was something my dad had always stressed. Regarding the family, his tales of perseverance had been my upbringing. The virtue of tenacity, by proving yourself worthy of this planet's hospitality. Still, he had given Liam complete control when the dust settled. That person who had done absolutely nothing to merit it. Money wasn't the only factor here. Here respect was at issue. Plus there was a crucial error that my dad had made. I had been disregarded by him. I took out my phone, combed through my address book, and finally located the one name I required. Matt Carter. An old acquaintance of my father's. The same individual who had assisted him in raising initial capital when Mitchell Enterprises was but a concept on a cocktail napkin. Of the few individuals who had ever placed faith in me, Ethan was among them. It was more than what my dad had. Call was hit. "Hello, Tessa." He responded very instantly. His voice was kind yet wary. "Time has passed." Going right to the subject, I stated that I needed to meet. "My father is the subject." A halt became apparent. A moan escaped his lips. I sensed that something was off. "Come to the club with me in half an hour." I snatched my keys and ended the call. I too would have rewrote the rules if my father had done so. To my memory, the exclusive club looked much as before. Rich with the inherited wealth of men who had followed in my father's footsteps to build their empires. With the same cold, calculated expression on his face, Ethan sat at the rear, sipping on his whiskey, and watched as I approached. Thus he remarked, gesturing with the glass. "Describe what transpired." I was really forthright. I spilled the beans to him. The summons, the treachery. My dad's method of giving Liam an undeserved kingdom. Ethan remained expressionless as he listened, occasionally nodding in agreement. "So what is it that you desire from me?" At last he spoke up. As we locked eyes, I drew nearer. "I intend to construct an improved version. In addition, I care deeply that my dad and Liam understand the full extent of their loss." After giving me a quick once-over, Ethan let out a laugh. "Your dad claimed you inherited my ruthlessness. At that point, you may be sure that I will not lose." Slowly he nodded. "Yeah, I understand. Communicate your strategy to me." My fervor was at an all-time high as I let out a breath. I had lost everything because my father had taken everything. I was about to seize all of his possessions now. With the same piercing stare he had used to assess business agreements for decades, Ethan reclined in his chair and studied me. There was no uncertainty in his quiet. A mathematical exercise. This expression was familiar to me from when he was still a partner with my father. "You know," he remarked as he tossed his glass of ice, "this would be seen a betrayal by your father." I chuckled dryly. Very amusing. To me, betraying your own daughter meant letting her go from the firm she helped build. An evil grin spread across Ethan's face. "No problem there." I placed my palms down on the table and maintained a look of composure. "I desire more than just retribution, Ethan. I intend to construct an improved version. Anything that detracts from Mitchell Enterprises' prominence." As he placed his drink down, he gently nodded. "Then all right, let's discuss tactics." The lesson I took away from my time spent working in the corporate sector was that material wealth was no guarantee of success. Controlling it was the source of it. Also, I was still in charge of a lot more than my dad thought, even if he thought otherwise. I retrieved my mobile device and perused my notes. Currently, Mitchell Enterprises is extremely susceptible to a serious threat. Increasing territory. Over-leverage has hit the firm hard. They don't have the infrastructure to support their rapid growth, but my father and Liam have been pouring money into fresh acquisitions, thinking they can outpace the market. Ethan furrowed his brow. What gives you that knowledge? I constructed the infrastructure after all. We locked eyes. The fissures are clearly visible to me. And when those fissures widen even little, the whole structure gives way. Ethan guffawed softly. So, it's best not to confront them directly. It seems like you'd rather let them ruin themselves. Very much so. Over the past 12 months, Mitchell Enterprises has been actively seeking investment opportunities in the fields of manufacturing, supply chain logistics, and real estate. However, neither my dad nor Liam were geniuses. They were clueless about the sectors they were investing in. They thought their fame would bring them success on its own, and their ambition and hubris were getting in the way of their actions. That wasn't the case. What will happen if Mitchell Enterprises encounters difficulties? A mischievous grin began to form on Ethan's face as he inquired. I take action at that point. Punishment was insufficient. I desired more. I yearned to demonstrate that my father could not treat me like a disposable commodity. I wanted to prove to them that ignoring me was their worst error. Finances were required. Materials were required. Most importantly, I had to surround myself with the correct people. My goal is to launch my own business, I declared. Something slim and methodical, with an emphasis on sensible buys rather than sensational ones. Furthermore, I intend to steal Mitchell Enterprises' top talent. As he shook his head, Ethan let out a laugh. Your father truly did father you. My grin lacked any genuine warmth. Oh no, I'm doing much better now. I had worked for Mitchell Enterprises for a long time, assembling top-notch teams and developing brilliant brains. They had faith in me. Liam was disrespected. And I knew just where their allegiance would go if I had the chance. Curiosity shining in Ethan's eyes, he leaned forward. Allow me to make an educated estimate. You have names already. Over the table I slipped my phone. A list of Mitchell Enterprises' key personnel, including executives, project managers, and financial analysts, appeared on the screen. I remarked that they are the true lifeblood of the business. Half of them I bet you would walk if given the chance. Whisper. Ethan let out. Do you ever squander any time? Time is of the essence for me. Leaning back, Ethan weighed his alternatives. Yes, I'm in, Tessa. All I needed were those 3 words. I was able to get seed money within a week. Ethan put me in touch with investors who were keen to support a rival business to Mitchell Enterprises, particularly one that had insider knowledge on how to bring it down. The chief of risk management at the organization, Danielle Carter, was the first individual I contacted. Over the years, she had served as my mentor, witnessing my progress firsthand. Right away, Tessa, she responded. I listened to the details. What utter nonsense. I informed her that I'm embarking on a new endeavor. You must accompany me. A hush fell over the room. Tell me where to sign, she said afterwards. The parts began to shift in place one by one. There were 4 crucial individuals I had by week's end. I had 10 at the month's end. Plus, what's even better? It was completely unexpected, even to my father. They were worried that I might vanish. Myth busted. In my new office, I stared at the documents that officially formed my business. I had lost everything when Mitchell Enterprises took it. However, I had created an improved version. My dad's number was the first one I saw when I took out my phone. I thought about giving him a call to tell him what I was about to do for a second. After a brief moment of smiling to myself, I hung up the phone. Very soon he would learn the truth. The initial domino had crumbled. The momentum I had established became unstoppable over the following 2 weeks. A growing number of employees were departing Mitchell Enterprises, some incognito and others with more flair, but all driven by a shared objective: to work with me. I was not violent when poaching. No need for me to. It was very clear to me who among us felt unappreciated, who was fed up with Liam's ineptitude, and who wanted out of the firm before it went under. Then the collapse would occur. For a long time I saw my father running the business, and he insisted that tradition and devotion were more important than new ideas and progress. It had been effective when I was present to counteract his influence. It was a time bomb waiting to explode under Liam's leadership. An unsuccessful acquisition was Mitchell Enterprises' initial major setback. The business has been in discussions to buy Harlan Tech, a medium-sized logistics provider, for months in an effort to increase their influence over supply chain management. Before my father yanked me out, I had championed this high-stakes maneuver. What comes next? After taking charge of the discussions, Liam made a huge mess of things. It all started with the headlines. As the son of the CEO botches the transaction, Mitchell Enterprises bungles a crucial purchase. Harlan Tech departs. Highlights issues with Mitchell Enterprises leadership. I find contentment in reading each piece. Liam had misjudged the situation, made too many promises, and forced Harlan Tech to sign a contract with another company. A company that I had advised on the purchase directly. A company that was suddenly on my side. Mitchell Enterprises couldn't be destroyed. This time, no. It was the initial public indication that something was wrong with them. Plus, I had a feeling my dad was keeping tabs on everything. I received a call 2 days following the Harlan Tech disaster, which I had anticipated. While I was at my office reviewing the most recent strategies for the growth of my own company, my phone started to ring. My eyes swept over the screen. Dear Father. The phone rang and I answered. Then I picked up the phone right before it went to voicemail. Good day, Tessa. The stress in his voice was audible, despite its tightness and control. You must be aware of what's happening in the world of politics. I recline in my chair, a gentle smile teasing my lips. I need to take a moment to compose myself. Was this anyway connected to you? My breath was light and labored, allowing the stillness to lengthen. Dear Father. I eventually spoke up. I was out in the open as soon as you said it. For what reason is Mitchell Enterprises involved with me in any way? Feeling overwhelmed by the gravity of the situation, he let out a heavy sigh. We ought to have a conversation. Yes, I saw it. The initial indication of remorse. Yet I was not yet prepared to speak. This time, no. That's all for now. Smoothly, I replied. Another time will have to be arranged for you. I cut off the call before he could answer. I was the one separating from him for the very first time. The concert was entertaining for more than just me. My old boss and current best friend, Danielle Carter, texted me that night. Hello, Danielle. He's going crazy. He convened a meeting of the whole team today. Held responsible for internal defections. Doubts about his competence are beginning to circulate. Then I grinned. Liam was of course freaking out. The strain was too much for him to manage. Now with the media looking into his background, investors becoming wary, and important staff quitting, what are his options? A drowning man he was. I still had more work to do. I wasn't aiming only at Liam. My father's legacy was what I was aiming for. The company known as Mitchell Enterprises was more than that. It had become a landmark. Reputation spanning decades had served as its foundation. Because my dad can always persuade folks that Mitchells are a sure bet. However, it was precisely the case. Encouraging them to sink beneath the weight of their own errors was all that was required of me. Which is why I proceeded to take the following step. I gave Ethan a ring. Yes, now is the moment. That is what I informed him. Is that so? He inquired. Oh my God. Liam is really devastated. He has my father's skepticism. Apprehension is rising among investors. We can steal some of their largest contracts before they even realize it's happening if we act quickly. Ethan guffawed softly. Your cruelty is quite shocking, Tessa. My face lit up with joy. However, it lacked coziness. The greatest taught me. A snare was laid. I had to wait now. What came next was easy. Add to the instability at Mitchell Enterprises. Prior to their ability to do so, secure key contracts. Be patient till my dad realizes what he did. For a long time I had tried to be the ideal daughter. Beloved successor. The unassuming tactician working in the background. At least not at the moment. Right now. I intended to see their annihilation. Drowning Liam was the situation. From a distance I saw as Mitchell Enterprises, a once powerful enterprise that had been my legacy, started to crumble due to his ineptitude. Started out slowly. Here we have a missed deadline and there we have a failing quarter. However, what comes next? After then it started to spiral. In addition, I showed up early to facilitate a more rapid resolution. The failure of the Harlan Tech purchase cost Mitchell Enterprises more than it was worth. They were no longer believed. No longer were investors merely worried. Anxieties gripped them. Next, people started to leave. A small group of executives started off. The ones that I had personally brought on board at my fresh business. The floodgates, however, quickly opened. Critical supervisors departed. The people who ensured the business continued to function. Customers were hesitant. Unexpectedly, contracts that had served as assurances were not extended. My father began to get direct calls from investors who were demanding explanations. Plus, what's even better? I had not even moved 1 inch. On his own, Liam was destroying the corporation. It was in the middle of the night when my dad called me again. In my office, I was going over the terms of our most recent acquisition. That one that was originally Mitchell Enterprises' primary vendor. I couldn't help but notice the irony. Prior to answering, I let the phone to ring 3 times. Dear Father. This time his voice sounded different. No rage. Not haughty. Very frantic. Listen, Tessa. We ought to have a conversation. Upon personal meeting. I recline in my chair and tap my fingers on the desk. For what purpose? We wait. Next, a deep exhalation. Liam has a lot of trouble. It worries the board. We need to solve certain financial difficulties. Money problems. That was being really mild-mannered. Mitchell Enterprises was really losing money. The foundation was gradually eroded with each deal that went south and every poor choice that Liam made. Really? You really believe I can be of use to you? Assuming I was innocent, I inquired. For the love of Tessa, please. The tone of my dad's voice became almost foreign. My gut tells me that you're furious. Still, we consider you a member of the family. The brightest one among us has always been you. Your presence is crucial. Oh great. Yes, I saw it. My dad was finally coming clean about something I'd known all along. But by then it was past. The subsequent morning we convened at his workplace. There was an oppressive air of tension in the room. Sitting awkwardly in the chair next to my dad's desk, Liam was already there. He lacked his characteristic arrogant grin and appeared pale-faced. It was evident to him. Both were aware. My dad started talking to Tessa. The organization need a reorganization. A lot of money has gone down the drain. To which I said, define significant, while crossing my arms. Here we go again. After that, he moved a folder across the desk. Upon opening it, I realized, behold, it stood there. The insolvency of Mitchell Enterprises was imminent. The guy who had created an empire out of nothing, my father, had given it all to the wrong person and seen it fall apart in a year or two. I looked him in the eyes as I shut the folder. To what end are you seeking my assistance? He paused. Then he said, come back. In a tone that was nearly painful. Give us a hand fixing this. That would have been funny. I could have just walked away and tossed the folder back at him. However, it was not the case for me. I preferred to relish the change in power by letting the stillness grow between us. The golden kid, Liam, had become silent. Lack of hubris. Nobody has a right to. Pure terror. Plus, what if I opt out? Inquiringly, I kept a close eye on my father. His breath left his body. At that point, it's all over. My fingers pressed lightly on the folder. It was this. At long last, the time had come. I was underappreciated by them. They had cast me aside. What comes next? They begged me to lend them a hand. I'll give it some thought, I remarked with a fluid motion as I stood up. All of a sudden, Liam's hair stood on end. Hold on, what? She has complete freedom to do as she pleases, Dad. My dad interjected. Elijah clenched his jaw, pivoted to go. Already I had triumphed. Plus, what's even better? My next move remained a mystery to them. Mitchell Enterprises was not revisited by me. I chose not to answer their calls. Their emails went unanswered by me. My father sent me several letters, each one more impassioned than the previous, but I paid no attention to a single one. Then I made them wait. I stood there and watched while they speculated. I took my last action while they floundered in confusion, trying to undo what they had done. Word got out a month following that gathering. The leadership turmoil at Mitchell Enterprises has led to the official filing of bankruptcy. The piece was rather harsh. It covered every angle. The shattered leadership, the numerous resignations, and the botched acquisitions. Liam became the public face of the company's collapse, and his name appeared in every news story. However, what piqued my curiosity the most? Their assets are detailed in that section. There was more to Mitchell Enterprises' demise than that. It was up for sale as a component. Furthermore, I had been anticipating this very moment. As a group of consultants and attorneys worked to finish the documents before me, I sat in a contemporary conference room. Quiet efficiency filled the space, in sharp contrast to the mayhem taking on within Mitchell Enterprises. The completed contract was passed across the table by my lawyer. He declared it official. Now the most valuable assets of Mitchell Enterprises are in your firm's possession. I reached for the pen and put my name on it. It was that. Instantly, I had appropriated all of my father's creations, and he had no idea. To Liam, it seemed like a power struggle. By doing this, my dad believed he was protecting his family name. I was engrossed in my chess game, but in reality they had been playing checkers. The corporation wasn't the only thing I took. My clientele were the greatest. Profitable divisions were mine to take. The individuals who had first established the company were the ones I chose. And then what? A void within. A meaningless moniker. A legacy that was rightfully theirs but was now not. Once again, I was taken aback by my father's outreach. However, he accomplished it. Upon hearing a knock, my assistant came in my office. She spoke with caution, calling Mitchell. "Here is your father." From my desk I raised an eyebrow. He hadn't crossed my path in weeks. "Bring him in." I hardly recognized him when he stepped in. He appeared weary and older, as if he had recently come to terms with how much he had lost. He lingered for a while, surveying my workplace. "This is my new business. The key to my success is..." "It was truly you." He spoke out at last. "Sure I did. We were separated by an extended period of quiet. It was possible for you to lend a hand." "I said," he declared, "you had the option to return. Together we could have resolved the issue." I reclined in my seat. "No, Papa. You could have taken care of it. Yet you were unwilling to do it. You hoped Liam would be the favored offspring. You sought to demonstrate that my presence was superfluous. What comes next?" I wheeled my hand across the room. "What I've always known has now clicked for you. The name was never an issue. The corporation was never an issue. The focus was on the builders." He clenched his jaw. He felt the need to dispute the matter. To justify. In order to provide justifications. However, it was impossible for him to do. He acknowledged my validity. I was incorrect. Something sparked inside of me for a split second. Part of who I am. His former adoring daughter wished to pardon him. But then I recalled how he had ignored me. My mind went back to all the times I had tried to prove myself, only to be told I wasn't good enough. So what? I asked myself. At last he gave a nod, embracing loss in silence. He then turned and left my office without saying a word. This time, though, retracting my steps, I did not. Mitchell Enterprises was never necessary for me. I was never one to seek my father's blessing. All I really wanted was the independence to create something unique. And I did it precisely. Authority isn't bestowed. Yes, it has been taken. I ended up taking everything.